Hi, this is Mrs. Rodriguez with another lesson video. Today we're going to look at 3 different ways you can add integers. So the first method we're going to look at is using a number line. The second is using arrows, and for the third it's remembering the rules. But before we begin, if we're adding integers, we should know what integers are. So integers are the positive and negative whole numbers on the number line, but they do not include fractions or decimals. Okay, so positive and negative whole numbers, no fractions, no decimals. So for the first method, we're looking at using a number line to add integers. So for A, we have find the sum of 7 plus negative 3. Now I'm going to use purple going towards with an arrow to the right for positive and green with an arrow to the left going negative. Now keep in mind my negatives are on the left-hand side of the 0, so they're on the left. They go towards the left. My positive numbers, however, on the number line are the numbers that go towards the right of the 0. Okay, so that's how I got the directions for my arrows. That's how I know which way to go. Okay, the negatives start at the left of the 0 and keep going, so they keep going left, and the positive numbers start at the right of the 0 and they keep going right. Okay, so for this problem, what you do is you find your starting point. So our first number is 7, so that's where we're going to begin or start. So find positive 7 on your number line. Okay, now we're adding negative 3, and remember, negatives go towards the left. So from my starting point of positive 7, I'm going to the left 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I end up at positive 4. So that means positive 7 plus negative 3 is a positive 4. Okay, now I like to bounce from one number to the next. You could also start at your starting number and draw an arrow 3 places to the left. It doesn't matter which method you use. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. So let's look at B. Now we're going to use a number line to find the sum of negative 2 plus negative 4. Negative 2 is negative, so I know that that's to the right, and negative 4 is negative, so I know that is to the right. Now, our starting number is negative 2. So I'm going to find negative 2 on my number line, and then I'm going to add 4 to it. 4 negatives. So that means I'm going to go to the left 4 times. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I end up at negative 6. Or once again, you could draw an arrow 4 spaces to the left and end up at negative 6. Okay, so we get negative 6 as our answer. So the key thing to remember is your first number is going to be your starting point, and then you're going to go in the direction of the second number's sign. So if the second number is positive, you will go to the right. If the second number is negative, that's how many spaces you'll go to the left. All right, and for C, now we have 3 integers. Okay, so once again, the first number is going to be our starting point. Okay, our second number is negative, so I know I'll be going to the left. And our third number is positive, so I know I'll be going to the right. So let's get started. I'm going to find my starting point of positive 2. Now I'm going to go to the left 6 times for negative 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not done because I still have that positive 4. So now from the negative 4, I'm going to go to the right 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I end up at 0. So positive 2 plus negative 6 plus 4 equals 0. Now, when it's only 2 integers you're adding, I like bouncing from one number to the next. when we start getting the 3 numbers or more that we're adding together, arrows might actually be your better bet. So I'm going to do this problem again on the second number line using the arrows. So I'm going to start out my positive 2. I went to the right 6 places and I ended up at negative 4. And then from negative 4, I added 4 more. So from negative 4, I'm going to go to the right 4. So here we go to the right. And we end up at 0. See, it just looks cleaner. So I like the bouncing from one number to the next. It helps me keep track better. But you do what feels best to you, because remember, as always, it's my job to teach you the tools to solve problems. It's your job to pick what tool you would like to use. All right, moving on. The second method, we're going to solve the same problems with each method so you can see the differences. So for method 2, we're going to be using arrows. We're still going to use purple for positive and green for negative. So simplify each of the following expressions. So for arrows, you're actually drawing out the arrows. So for A, we have 7 positive arrows. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then for the negative 3, I'm going to have 3 arrows going towards the right. Now, the idea of this is you're supposed to remember that 1 positive and 1 negative equals 0. Okay, and it makes sense because if you have 1 plus a negative 1, it equals 0. So 1 positive arrow plus a negative arrow equals 0. If you need to see that on a number line, here's 0, here's positive 1, here's negative 1. 1 would be my starting point. So if I'm at positive 1 and I'm adding 1 negative to it, I'm going to go over once. And I end up at 0. Okay, and once again, you can bounce from number to number or draw an arrow. So because we know that 1 positive and 1 negative equals 0, when I draw out these arrows for my problem, when I'm done, I can go, okay, well, 1 positive and 1 negative equals 0, so anytime I can match them up, I cross them out. So there's 1 positive, 1 negative. These two can go together. These two can go together. And now I see, what do I have left? And I have 4 positives left. So that's going to be equal to 4 positives. All right, let's try another one. For B, we have negative 2 plus negative 4. Okay, so negative 2 would be 2 arrows going to the right. Negative 4 would be 4 arrows going to the right. We're supposed to be adding them together. And if I add them together, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives. So it's going to equal negative 6. Okay. And last but not least, here's our multiple integers. Once again, I'm going to continue with my arrows. So 2 positives will be 2 arrows to the right. 6 negatives will be 6 arrows to the left. 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Okay. Now, when you're solving multiple integers and you're wanting to use the arrows, just go ahead. We're still going to match them up. So we have the 2 positives for the 2, the 6 negative arrows for the 6, and now 4 more positive arrows for the 4. Now we go ahead and we match them up. Remember, 1 positive and 1 negative equals 0. So I can match these 2 up, these 2, these 2, these 2. They cancel each other out. And what are we left with? No arrows. So that means it equals 0. Okay? So remember, 1 positive arrow and 1 negative arrow cancels each other out because they equal 0. All right, so that was the arrow method. Now, for the third method, remembering the rules. So for adding integers with the same signs, the official rule is you add the numbers and keep the sign. So for this case, we have -2 plus -4. They're both, if you'll notice, negative. So that means we add the numbers. 2 plus 4 equals 6. And then it says to keep the sign. Okay, well, they're negative, so that means this is going to be a -6. Okay. For B, it's adding integers with different signs. Okay, so for same signs, we added the numbers and kept the signs. But now the signs are different, so we can't just add them together because some are positive and some are negative. It doesn't work that way. Remember, one positive and one negative cancel each other out. So in this case, we subtract the integers and use the sign of the bigger number. So first we subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4. Then we use the sign of the bigger number. In this case, 7 is the bigger number, and it's positive. So that means my answer is going to be positive. So we're going to have a positive 4. Okay, so same signs, you add the numbers together. If they're both negative, you keep it negative. If they're both positive, the answer is positive. For different signs, you subtract the two numbers, and whichever sign is bigger or whichever number is bigger, that's the sign you use. So if the bigger number is negative, your answer is negative. If the bigger number is positive, then your answer is positive. All right, and then we had C, where we add multiple integers at once. So the rules for doing this is you're going to follow the same rules that we did above, right? Same signs you add, different signs you subtract. Same signs you keep the sign the same. Different signs you take the sign of the bigger number. The trick to these is you want to just do 2 integers at a time, okay? So for multiple adding of integers, you're going to have multiple steps. Just take it 2 integers at a time. So first I'm going to start with 2 plus -6. They have different signs. The 2 is positive, the 6 is negative, so I'm going to subtract. So 6 minus 2 equals 4. The bigger number is -6, or I'm sorry, is 6, and it's negative. So that means my answer is going to be negative. So it's going to equal -4. Okay. Now we can go ahead and drop down our last number, which is +4, and continue the process. So -4 plus +4. Once again, they have different signs. So that means we're going to subtract them. So 4 minus 4 equals 0. And you're supposed to take the sign of the bigger number, but in this case 4 and 4 are the same number, so there is no sign because your answer ends up being equal to 0. Okay, so it equals 0. All right, so the methods you can use for solving integers. All right, and as always, if you have any questions or need additional help, feel free to make an appointment with me for office hours. Hope you have a great day. Bye.